Hello everyone, I'm Nadia and this is part 3 of episode 18 of my Reasoned Pleasantview. We are going to play the last 4 months of the uni premades first year of studies. And as usual, we are going to start with the freshman household. Surprisingly enough, Jared, star child, kept on rolling once for skill points. He needed logic and body, so I made him work out. Ty Bubbler was playing computer games and dreaming about becoming friends with Custer and best friends with Ashley, but he actually needed a cooking skill point. Jared earned a body skill point and Ty started his way towards a cooking skill point by eating a bird omelette. Well, now he knows what he shouldn't do while cooking. Jared re-rolled his wants and now he wanted to become friends with Jimmy, so he called him on the phone. And we found out that Ty's one true hobby was cuisine, which suits him very nicely. Later I made him call Custer Nova, and of course Custer, as a true philosopher, tried to deny friendship. But obviously he enjoyed talking about stars and planets as he likes stargazing. I've noticed that Jared really likes playing computer games, so probably I'll set his one true hobby as games instead of nature next round. As Sam Thomas was chatting with Jimmy Phoenix on the phone, she got her big want of having 5 simultaneous best friends fulfilled. And surprisingly, Ty decided not to have his dinner at the dining room. I find it really weird for an extroverted sim like Ty. Maybe he was being mocked at by the local students. And speaking of mockery, you can see that kind-hearted Jared doesn't get along with a couple of sims. I believe they are laughing at him because of his style, which is not surprising as he looks no better than the local mascots. Maybe he is a mascot for the parrot team. But he became friends with Allegra Gory, so he's not completely hopeless. As for the mascots themselves, they stole Jared's spotlight with their fight. Ty missed everything because he'd gone to bed really early. How can he be a popularity sim when he can't even stay up after 9 p.m.? Jared must be used to fights because he didn't even react upon seeing one. And it looks like Sam is just as tough as Jared. When a fire broke out next morning, she didn't seem to be frightened at all. Ty called Joshua Rubin and started talking about witches and cooking. Maybe Joshua shared his fear of drinking a potion or something. But the real danger was the cow mascot. It cost Ty a lot of time and effort, but he finally became friends with Custer. Sloppy Jared decided to mop up some puddles in the shower. It must be Brittany and Allegra's influence. Sam invited her crush Jimmy Phoenix over, and it turned out that their mutual attraction was down to 2 bolts. I bet it was Brittany and her unexpected woohoo with Jimmy that had sown doubts in his heart. Anyways, Sam was very happy to see Jimmy and even congratulated him on his good looks. They went to the student union and played billiards for a while. But Sam couldn't resist Jimmy's charm any longer and started hitting on him. Eventually they picked a nice spot by the fountain, kissed for the first time, and Sam fell in love with Jimmy immediately. With a little bit more flirting, Jimmy reciprocated. Sam struck the iron while it was hot and asked him to go steady, and he agreed. Sam was so in love with Jimmy that she sat next to him while he was eating, but he had to go to his class, so the date was over. Sam also had her exam that night, but nearly missed it because of the crowd in her bedroom. As she was running to her exam, it was time for Ty to return from his. And he got an A+ grade and became our first Let's Play made sophomore. He was celebrating this event with some dancing, but I wasn't so happy because now he needed lots of new skills to move further. And Ty decided to have his dinner in the hallway again, even when the dining room was empty. As I was looking through Sam's positive memories, she returned from her exam with another B grade, and she became our second sophomore. Ty didn't want to eat in the dining room, but he didn't mind to mop the floor there for some reason. In the morning, Sam rolled a wand to play chess, which was fantastic as she needed logic skill. Jared ran to his exam, but I decided that Sam needed to move out from her dormitory and move in with Jimmy. Ty ran up to her to say goodbye, and she went away, choosing romance over friendship. Now it's Eric Swain and Jimmy Phoenix's turn. Looking at Jimmy's relationship panel, I was thinking about Brittany. Obviously, Jimmy had already agreed to commit to Sam, but he might have an idea that Brittany would have been a better match for him because he'd never liked sports. Eric had a want to get engaged to Heather, but I was convinced that want made no sense for him. First, he'd seen Heather talk to other guys several times during their dates. Second, Brittany had told him Heather wasn't the most loyal girl on campus. Also, he's got quite a grouchy personality. And finally, he only had one bolt of chemistry with her. He never really liked her, most likely because she was too dumb for his high standards. So instead of calling Heather and asking her to marry him, he called Brittany to diss some more simps and they became best friends. Later, Jimmy called Brittany and became best friends with her as well. He also decided to clarify if he'd made out with her during his party, because he could hardly remember anything. As Jimmy was talking to Ashley Pitts on the phone, we found out that Ashley really liked Jimmy, as he didn't even mind talking about studies anymore. When Jane Stacks had tried to talk about this with Ashley, he absolutely hated that. Sam had recommended Jimmy to clean the toilet to gain some cleaning skill, but unfortunately the toilets at the Pine Knot Plaza dorms weren't dirty enough. I saw Eric attack a dormie who had the same hairstyle and hair color as Heather's most devoted fan Orlando, and it made me think it was time to invite Heather over and dot the I's. Eric decided not to show Heather that he'd been influenced by anyone in his decision. He simply told her they weren't the best match for each other. Meanwhile, Jimmy was asking the dormies if they had seen who he'd woohooed with during his party. Unfortunately, the only guy who had seen that wasn't there to answer. Jimmy also needed a few skills but didn't have any motivation to work on them, unlike Eric, who started stargazing almost right after his breakup with Heather. Heather's rose was still standing on his desk, but he didn't want to see it anymore, so I sold it. Jimmy started his day by dancing with a dormie, but Eric wasn't so friendly. He hated a couple of local students and was trying to argue with a girl he had just been playing darts with. One of the sims Eric used to gossip about with Brittany called him and tried to set a time for a fight, but it was Jimmy who answered. Apparently, Eric didn't mind a relationship with an older lady as long as she would cook for him. Jimmy was dawdling away again, playing darts and lounging on the sofa. The dormie he'd been dancing with asked him if he was going to become a lawyer, but Jimmy was dreaming about another party. Meanwhile, Eric was reading a textbook before his final exam. Jimmy went to class that time, so Eric got a chance to sleep properly. When Jimmy came back, he got a cleaning skill point for cleaning a shower. But after that, he returned to his favorite activity, sofa pressing, and Eric saw him doing that. No wonder he decided to lecture Jimmy for lounging his life away and ruining the reputation of their home neighborhood. Yes, Eric and Jimmy come from the same place, it's just my headcanon. But Jimmy didn't seem to be upset at all. He began to discuss some questionable topics with this handsome blonde guy. Maybe Sam was moving too fast with their relationship. I think he's not ready for anything serious yet. Anyway, his memories showed us that he was genuinely in love with Sam. Perhaps he was just trying too hard to be liked by everybody and couldn't set his borders. Eric, of course, returned with an A+ and became our sophomore number 3. He wanted to calm down and started this ugly painting of a tiger. Eric raised his creativity skill up to level 6. Wow, he's even more creative than Tiffany Sampson herself. He rolled a want to buy a wombat cage. With his aggressiveness, I can only guess what he needs this poor animal for. Jimmy managed to get a B and he became our sophomore number 4. And of course he wanted to have not just one party, but 2. Now we need to move Sam Thomas in with Jimmy before we play the Trivar sorority. Her age is now synchronized with everyone else's. Here is Sam. And let's play the Trivar sisters. Brittany wanted to gain a skill point to make the Dean's List again. This is what I call determination. Tiffany, on the other hand, was dreaming about logic and creativity, which were absolutely useless for her. Heather had lost her Jared-oriented once, but she still wanted to woohoo with 3 different Sims. And by the way, she was still in love with Eric. I wanted her to reroll her wands, so I made her chat with the red-headed Orlando. They became friends, and then she wanted to flirt with him and gain a skill point, which was really good. Thanks to Heather's friendship with Orlando, the Greek house got rank 5. But in spite of the fact that she wanted to flirt with Orlando, she started writing about Jared in her diary, marking him as her next conquest. Heather was reading a book on cleaning when we got the pop-up claiming that her one true hobby was nature. I was really surprised because I believed cuisine or films and literature would be more suitable for her, but she really was interested in environment, so we can keep it for now. Tiffany returned from her class with a want to play the piano, and she also wanted to influence someone to serve a meal. I think she hadn't been attentive at all. Heather serves meals for her all the time. Speaking of Heather, she decided to get closer to Jared and ask him out on a date. She needed a place where she could woohoo with him, so I chose University Way shops hoping for a woohoo in a changing booth. But Heather nearly stood Jared up again. I think she believes the girl must be late for her dates. But it turned out Jared and Heather weren't the only ones who decided to go shopping. Castanova was on that lot too. Looks like he's spying on Heather and her dates. Anyway, Heather didn't want him to see her do a public woohoo. Not yet. So she had to go to another shop. Maybe that shop wasn't as romantic as the last one, but both Jared and Heather couldn't wait any longer as they fell in love with each other. So they proceeded straight to the nearest sofa and got down to business. I believe it's okay for them to woohoo before the cashier's eyes. They are both very outgoing and playful, they love risk. It was Heather's second partner. Jared, of course, rolled a wand to get engaged, but I think that he wasn't serious or active enough to initiate a committed relationship that early in his life. And Heather, well, we already know that she doesn't like being in a serious relationship at all. After the date was over, Heather called Martin Rubin. I don't think he will be her partner number 3. He's really shy, he doesn't like to go out, so he should be the hardest. But Castanova is still an option. As Tiffany was calling her numerous friends, I noticed that she didn't like Jared. I bet she thinks he looked ridiculous and stupid. Meanwhile, I bought a shelf for Heather's bedroom to put her 2 bouquets. Brittany was applauding the cow mascot who was playing the piano. He wasn't nearly as good as Tiffany, but Brittany always supports mean guys. Tiffany's class performance meter was in great need of expansion, so I made her prepare dinner for herself. I also understood the cow mascot's even plan. He wasn't going to allow Tiffany to play the piano so that she never re-rolled her wands and got some new ones about skills she needed. Brittany wanted to buy a drum kit and a guitar, and I started thinking that it would be nice to set her hobby as music and dance in the future. Tiffany managed to get a cooking skill point and got a chance to get a B grade. As I said, Brittany woke up and started dancing immediately, and Heather returned from her exam with a B, which made her sophomore number 5. Quite unsurprisingly, Tiffany rolled a wand to make the dean's list after she played the piano, but she couldn't work on her body skill as it was time to go to bed. I was on speed too when Jared showed up and brought a present for Heather, a huge TV set that costs around 3,000 simoleons. I checked Heather's relationship with Brittany and Tiffany and decided that she wouldn't have shared this with them, so I put the TV into her inventory. By the way, she'd had several dates with Eric and he'd never brought her anything but a bouquet, which again proves that he is really mean and his feelings were fake. Brittany got an A+ and became a junior. I decided to keep her popularity aspiration as I hardly ever change my Sims aspirations. Later she played the piano to celebrate and I saw that she only needed 1 cleaning skill point, which wasn't a problem for her as she is neat and usually cleans autonomously. She had a want to buy clothes locked, so I think next round will change her ugly outerwear. Heather woke up with a want to have a good reputation. The weirdest thing was that she was already considered a prominent personality. Apparently having a public woohoo with a different sim every 4 months is a very cool thing to do, at least when you are at university. Heather decided to play some computer games all of a sudden. I believe she was influenced by Jared. But she simply couldn't stop looking for more lovers. She even began to use a dating app. I'd forgotten to lock Tiffany's want to make the dean's list, but I made her exercise anyway. Brittany, of course, was doing all she could to gain that cleaning skill point. As she was mopping up the floor, the trainer came in and made her exercise. "Oh, Brittany, I didn't know you could be influenced that easily." One of the guys Heather had met on the dating app dropped in to say hello. Brittany didn't waste a single minute of her time and was working on her logic skill on her own when she didn't even need it. Kevin Bear was passing by and invited himself in. Apparently he was looking for a girlfriend and didn't care that three Var sisters had friend-zoned him long time ago. He was also thinking about the trainer. I believe he wanted to lose some weight with the trainer's help to finally attract someone. Tiffany went to her exam and Brittany to her class, so Kevin was left with Heather and the blonde cheerleader to make him company. I don't think Heather can potentially be interested in Kevin. He is not her type at all. She just likes to keep him as one of her admirers. But Kevin asked Heather if there was a way to get out from Tiffany's friend zone, and she shared some ideas. He also asked if he needed to write a book to impress Tiffany, and Heather told him it was a brilliant idea. She raised his mood with the school cheer that he loved so much. Turns out Heather can be a good friend. Tiffany made the dean's list again, and when she entered the house, Kevin came up to her to say goodbye. But he did it in a very unusual and unexpected way. I literally choked when I saw it happen, and Tiffany was paralyzed with shock too. She didn't even try to push him away, but looked at me in search of answers. Of course, she was happy that she wasn't a loser with zero kissing experience anymore, but she never got a crush on Kevin, and he didn't have a crush on her, as I checked later. Here is my only explanation for Kevin's behavior. Of course, he was looking for a girlfriend. He'd been in a romantic mood for quite a while. Out of all the girls he knew, he was mostly attracted to Tiffany and the Fred brothers' cheerleader. They wear the same hairstyle, by the way. He decided to try his luck with Tiffany as his relationship with her was higher, asked Heather for some advice, but got too excited after seeing Heather's stomach and sprang at Tiffany instead of moving slowly. Anyway, I think it only reduced his chances, as he wasn't logical or creative from the start, and now Tiffany knows that he can't keep it in his pants. She would definitely have preferred her first kiss to be with Custer, not Kevin, but what's done is done. Maybe this will boost her self-esteem. Brittany was cleaning everything again, and in the morning Heather rolled a wand to influence someone to write her term paper. Tiffany could do that job, but it was time to move to another household. Next are the Fred brothers. The first thing I did was to check Kevin's relationship panel. As you can see, he didn't have a crush on Tiffany, so probably he'd simply got nervous that evening at Trivar sorority. He wanted to gain a skill point, so I made him study cooking instead of going to class. As usual, Joshua started his day with gaming. He also rolled a wand to write a novel, so Kevin wasn't the only one who'd figured a way to win Tiffany's heart. Or perhaps Joshua just wanted to make some money. Custer was mopping up the floor on his own and got a cleaning skill point. But actually he really hated being a housewife, that's why he rolled a wand to influence someone to serve a meal. He chose Joshua because he was the best at cooking. Allegra Gorey came into the Fred brothers' house uninvited. Apparently she wanted to play Kevin's trick with Custer. Although Joshua was the best at cooking, he served an instant meal. And they say his brother is lazy. Custer didn't leave the table on time, so Allegra missed her opportunity to kiss him goodbye. But later Custer had to call her anyway, because they were barely friends. Kevin called Eric to boast of his most recent achievement. He also said that he found a solution for his friend zone problem. Then Eric asked if the girl Kevin had kissed was hot, and Kevin had to confess she wasn't. Custer and Joshua returned from their classes at the same hour and seemed to be getting along this time, but Custer's relationship panel showed he was just as arrogant as Joshua's brother. Custer wanted to stargaze and Joshua of course wanted to eat more pizza. But after Custer had left, Joshua took his place at the telescope. Was he trying to get smarter for Tiffany? Or maybe he was just hoping to discover a star and get 500 simoleons. It's always hard to tell what's on his mind. I woke Custer up because he had an exam in 1 hour. Looks like he got really tired of being the local Cinderella, that's why he rolled a 1 to influence someone to clean. Wise choice, Custer. This place is really filthy. I also don't understand why his exam was at 3 a.m. Oh, it's philosophy. I see. Ashley had his exam early in the morning too. Unfortunately, he could only get a C. And that was really sad. Last time he went to his exam fully dressed, well prepared and got an A+, but this time he was walking there half naked and without the necessary skills. But he's studying drama. His fail was going to be dramatic too. As Ashley disappeared from the lot, Custer reappeared with an A+, and we got the notifications about Kevin and Joshua's exams. Ashley, of course, returned with a C, but kept his romance aspiration, which was giving him absolutely nothing. I think next round we need to make his romantic dreams come true. This time he had all the chances to make the Dean's List again, as he went straight to the piano on his own and he needed a creativity skill point. We also learned a secret of Custer's great class performance. He was expanding his mind using the bubble blower. Both Joshua and Kevin made the Dean's List and began to toss football to celebrate. None of Joshua's wants was university-related, which wasn't great as he needed lots of new skills. Luckily, we had Custer with his want to influence someone to clean. Oh, Joshua, you'll have a lot of work. Joshua started with picking up the paper cups, and his fun was growing down like crazy. But he got lucky at the same time as Ashley decided to free him from his regular cooking duty. What's wrong with you, Ashley? What made you so kind? I think it was his pity for his only true best friend. Just look at this face. I almost feel guilty now. I say almost because thanks to that Joshua got a cleaning skill point and saved himself from academic probation. So, generally speaking, all kinds of relationships are overrated. Oh, don't say that, Custer. It would be so nice to find a girlfriend. Don't you think, Joshua?
Oh yeah, so that she would do the cleaning, not me.
Did you know that Custer was a mean guy? Here is the proof. He was laughing at Joshua for having cleaned the entire house for him. Custer grabbed another plate and the cheerleader ran into the room to cheer for him. But look at Kevin. He was admiring her. Poor thing. Joshua called Sam Thomas and they became best friends. He asked her how the things were going with the guy she had mentioned last time and seemed to be upset to hear they were dating. Kevin gained a charisma skill point and immediately wanted to gain another one. He is determined to become slim, charismatic and creative, everything to attract a girl. Meanwhile, the cheerleader took her relationship with Custer to the next level. She gave him a friendly hug. But later she finally decided to sit opposite Kevin. This is what I call a powerful charisma. Joshua chose a very strange topic for conversation. He may look tough, but he's actually superstitious and sometimes even paranoid. Good thing he doesn't know Allegra. He would definitely accuse her of being a witch.
Listen, I come to your Greek house every day. I look fashionable. What's wrong?
It's Custer Nova, girl. This is what's wrong. But I don't like fashionable girls either. I prefer those who love sports. I believe Custer regretted having hugged the cheerleader as she was bothering him when he was trying to concentrate on his assignment. Joshua was trying to repair a shower downstairs and he looked absolutely furious. He had a reason. This was a tough episode for him. Oh, Kevin, not again. They're just girls, they're not so important. Joshua managed to repair the shower, but everything was covered in puddles, which annoyed him a lot as he had just cleaned everything that day. So he decided to mop the floor on his own. Wow, Custer did influence him a lot. As Kevin was dreaming about the cheerleader, he was actually being cheered on by the llama mascot. How disappointing. Joshua woke up with a want to be BFFs with Sam, and he also wanted to buy a makeover station. Maybe he wanted to change his style to make a better impression on his professors. Turned out Joshua had 3 cooking skill points, so I sent him to cook breakfast. Custer needed a body skill point, but preferred to play catch with Kevin in the morning. And finally, the Bright household. Jane Stacks managed to pull herself together. She rolled 2 wants about skill points, which she really needed, and a want to make the dean's list. Martin wanted to gain a random skill point, so he was studying cleaning. Meanwhile, Allegra wanted to tell an inside joke to Custer. Maybe she'd heard about the cheerleaders' moves. Anyway, Jane and Martin gained their skill points, and Jane immediately wanted to expand her knowledge even further. Surprisingly, Jane and Allegra stopped getting along. 20-year-old Jane kept on talking about children and toys, and Allegra didn't seem to be prepared for that kind of conversations. By the way, Martin was absolutely silent when Allegra was at the table and later only talked to Jane. Maybe he had a grouch on Allegra after that lecturing about Heather. Martin and Jane became best friends, and Allegra called Ty Bubbler to chat with him instead. I realized that Jane had never gone out this round. She had 20 hours until final exam, when Martin and Allegra had only 8. Also, that's why the community time mod doesn't work here. The university has its own time system. The telephone rang and Martin went to answer it, hoping it was Heather, but it was just a cow mascot. I wonder what they wanted from Martin. Maybe to invent an invisible electric shocker. Never mind, they seem to already have it. Martin had to call Heather himself, while Allegra was busy. Apparently everyone on campus knew that Tiffany had recently grown super popular. Heather, of course, was using her example to tell Martin that nerds like him can be attractive too. And he seemed to be really happy to hear that. Martin rolled a want to influence someone to serve a meal. He is just as inattentive as Tiffany. It's Allegra who serves meals here, Martin. Turned out Allegra had 5 creativity skill points, and Jane gained her 4th mechanical one. After that, she began to write in her diary. The topic was quite predictable. Girls. I believe she was writing how they were distracting her from her graduation goal, and that she felt just as stupid as Jared looked. Martin and Allegra were having dinner together, and finally became friends in spite of their disagreement about Heather. Martin still thought Jane looked super hot, but actually everyone needed to go to their exams or classes. Of course, Martin and Allegra got their highest grades, and they started to congratulate one another on that immediately. Martin rolled a want to write a term paper once again. As I said, he is a huge fan of them. He needed mechanical and charisma, but I don't see him as a charismatic sim, so probably he won't even try to get the latter. Jane had a want to stargaze, which was cool, as you can never be logical enough when you are studying physics. She also wanted to buy a wombat cage. Well, Jane is a nice and reliable sim. She can definitely be trusted with keeping a pet, unlike Eric, but I don't think she needs one. Jane woke up and went to her exam. She wanted to become friends with a blonde girl she'd used to dream about. Looks like she was trying to push Allegra out of her thoughts. Both Reuben twins enjoy gaming, but it doesn't work as well in Martin's case. It hardly raises his fun at all. And Allegra prefers dancing to her morning exercises. One of Allegra's wants was to see a ghost. Maybe she does have some supernatural powers, and Joshua was not paranoid after all. Witches are everywhere. Jane got an A+ one more time and became a senior. She could also focus on 2 wants at once now, so she focused on studying anger management and writing a term paper. As she was walking to her class later, she saw Allegra in her nightie and started going crazy over her again. After her class, Jane rolled a want to stargaze, and by the way, she only needed 1 logic skill point. A streaker ran into the house, but when he saw what boring nerds were living in it, he ran away at once. Allegra returned from her class and started birdwatching, but she actually wanted to take a picture. Maybe she was thinking about creating a profile on the same dating app Heather'd been using. I thought she needed to call Jared, and what a surprise! She started seeing parrots everywhere. I think the game knows what Jared's nickname is. Martin wanted to call Heather again, but he didn't risk it with Allegra being in the kitchen. The moment she got distracted, he called his crush, but the chat didn't go well this time. Martin wasn't interested in Heather's new dress at all. Jane earned the only logic skill point she needed, which expanded her class performance meter to write a term paper. I sent her upstairs to write it, but she preferred to make Martin's bed. In the morning, Allegra talked to Martin about her arts and crafts hobby and got a want about seeing a ghost again. I feel like I need to build a cemetery in Pleasantview just for her to visit. That's all with the Sim State Uni premades rotation. Well, it was really long. It took me a lot of time, but I don't regret anything because now we have plenty of other Sims, plenty of other stories to enjoy. Well, I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and you will come and see episode 1, round 1, with Don Lothario, of course. Thank you very much for watching, and bye!